Inravio.com.
Hello again, everybody. This is Joe Larson, and you're watching the 505 on Racing Show. As you can see, the studio is a little bit crowded today with my guest today, John Visconti of Visconti Motorsports, and his driver, CJ Weaver. Welcome.
Hello, Joe. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Hope everybody had a nice Thanksgiving. I know I did. I got to spend some time with my son and my grandchildren and his wife down in Georgia. And he was in the military for 20 years. And that was the first Thanksgiving we've had in over 20 years together. He's retired from the military. He's home in one piece, and I had a lot to be thankful for at that dinner. It was a great, great day and a great weekend. So I want to thank them for their hospitality. I had a good time. Can't wait to get back. But anyway, before we get into these guys, we'll talk about some of the things, the ongoings of racing in the world this past weekend. The Formula One series of Formula One was at Abu Dhabi, I think that's how you say it, the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. And Lewis Hamilton was the winner there with Rico Rosberg second. Sebastian Vettel was third. Max Verstappen was fourth. And followed by Daniel Ricciardo was fifth. After the Formula One points were tallied out, Rico Rosberg was the Formula One champion in the Formula One circuit, and that says a lot. That guy was in the top three just about every race, and the Mercedes brand was his car, and they were actually the manufacturer's champion as well, so congratulations to Rico. And then Long Island's Riverhead Raceway announced Gary Knight's Modified Touring Series will be at the famed Quarter Mile in 2017. That's a big announcement, because that's usually the date on or about where the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour makes their first stop at Riverhead. So you got to ask yourself, is the Wheel and Modified Tour not going to visit Riverhead in 2017, or are they going to be there as well? It'll be interesting to see once the schedules come out for the tour and for the local racetrack here on Long Island. And the Modified Tour Series also booked two events at Connecticut's Stafford Motor Speedway. Rumor has it there that they took two dates from the Modified Tour to give to the Modified Touring Series. So it should be interesting to see where the Whelen Modified Tour will be going, especially with the merger with the Southern Tour in 2017. That schedule probably not going to be out until at their banquet, which is in December. I believe it's the second weekend in December or shortly thereafter. I know there's issues with the touring schedules because they cannot announce it until each sanctioning agreement is signed by each of the tracks that'll be on the schedule for the following years. So we'll see what happens with that, but I want to welcome that new touring series to the Riverhead Raceway because I think that's going to be a good thing. And I'm sure you guys will probably try to get involved with that too as well. So, you know, if there's a race and there's modifieds, I'm sure you guys are going to try to go there.
It's up to boss man here.
And last night, I guess Sunday night, NASCAR's Xfinity Series and Camping World Truck Series champions were honored Sunday night at the Miami, Florida hotel, where Daniel Suarez was the champion for the Xfinity Series and Johnny Sauter for the Camping World Truck Series. Other awards, the most popular driver in Xfinity was Elliott Sadler, and the Camping World Truck Series was Tyler Reddick. The owners' champions, Joe Gibbs in the Xfinity with number 19, and the Camping World Truck Series owner champion Kyle Busch Motorsports in the number 9. The Sprint Cup Series Champions Week begins Tuesday, November 29th. That'll be tomorrow, and culminating on Friday, December 2nd, when the champions will be honored and other cash awards and hardware will be distributed. That's always an interesting long night, but you know what? That's what you do. You got to honor the champions and what they've done. Let's see, Sprint Cup Series 2017 schedule. Starts with the Unlimited in February 18th, followed by the Daytona 500 the following weekend on the 26th, and will end just like it always has on the November 19th at Homestead. There is still no title sponsor for the Sprint Cup Series. Be interesting to see. I know they negotiate with a bunch of groups, and I believe that Monster Energy Drink has been talking to NASCAR about becoming the title sponsor, but my understanding is they do not want to take all 36 races. They only want to take about 12 or 14, so we'll see how that works out. But it should be interesting. I would think at this stage in the game, a company like NASCAR and their marketing group would have a title sponsor.
You would think.
That should have been something that was worked out long before Sprint ended. It should have been worked out, but we'll see what happens. And also in the Sprint Cup Series, Germain Racing announced Monday that Ty Dillon will replace Casey Mears in the number 13 Sprint Cup Series ride. Mears had piloted the 13 since the second half of 2010. Dillon has made 18 Sprint Cup Series starts over the last 3 years. Guys, welcome.
Hello, Joe.
Got to get some business out of the way, you know?
Sure.
So you guys got some stuff going on. I know there was an announcement made last week. I don't want to steal the thunder. Tell us, John, tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I guess it started back when we ended the Legends racing in 2015. We decided at that point we were going to go to the crate modified division because Eddie and Connie Partridge were coming up with this crate division. And I thought it was a really good opportunity for me personally. I didn't even know CJ at the time. I was introduced to CJ and his family through Tommy Baldwin, one of our sponsors. So that being said, Tommy said, if you're going to go with the crate division, which is an affordable way to go racing in the modified division, get your feet wet, I think CJ would be a great, prospective driver for you. We got together and it all worked out. Obviously, it worked out very well. And at the end of this season, we were unsure which way we were going to go. We felt as though we had a really good season.
Absolutely.
We had a bunch of top fives. We got a win. Mm-hmm. We had a wreck. Wasn't anybody's fault. We had a stuck throttle. Things happened. But the next week, our team came back, and when I think we finished third at Riverhead and fourth at Mountain, or vice versa. We did a Saturday and a Sunday right after we got the car back.
We had a fourth and a fourth.
Whichever,
Top
but it was
fives,
top
top
fives.
fives,
You know, we did it really well, and with the progression of our whole season, I saw the talent and the discipline that CJ has. I saw the way he interacts with the fans and how he interacts with the sponsors, friends, and family that come down. And I said, it would be a shame if we couldn't springboard the success that we've had in the crate division into a tour type modified rather. And an opportunity came across my plate. Stephen Halpin called me up. Me and the team were talking, and we were battling about what we were going to do. We're definitely running a full crate series next season. We feel as though we have some unfinished business there. But an opportunity arose with Stephen Halpin giving me a call, and he said that Mark Seifer, who's the owner of all of Donnie Leah's tour stuff, he's looking to get out of racing, and he had all of his equipment for sale. One thing led to another, and we set up a meeting. Spoke with the guys first. They said, if you can do it, go for it. I sat with our sponsors, mainly Mr. Reichert from IGA. He asked me if I had enough faith in CJ, excuse me, and the rest of the team to move into that division. And I told him if I didn't think it would be a good move for us, I wouldn't be sitting in front of you. Long story short, a week later, we own 2 LFR Fury NASCAR Tour Modifieds and everything that was in the shop and trailer.
Now,
So we're
Mark
looking forward to it.
I know Mark a long time, good friend of mine. We did some work together. He had some good stuff.
Fantastic
He had
stuff.
some good stuff. And before Donnie Leah drove for him, Glenn Tyler drove for him for
Yes.
a number of years. With limited success. He didn't win any races, but he was always right there in the middle of the pack doing his
Yep.
thing. And Glenn wanted to take a little step back. His kids were getting older.
Right.
And then Mark was kind of in search for a driver, and then
Right.
Donnie Leah was
came in.
available, and
Right.
bam, that sounded like a good deal. And Mark needs to recharge his batteries, I guess. I had a nice conversation with Mark.
Oh, did you?
A couple of weeks ago, I was trying to get him to come on the show to talk about the
Right.
challenges that a modified touring owner have today.
I guess I'm going to find those out soon, huh?
And then all of a sudden he said to me, well, I sold all my equipment, but it hasn't been announced yet. And I was
Right.
like, oh, okay. And then we talked, and I
Right,
said,
right,
I'm
right.
starting
There
to
you
put
go.
the pieces together. Now, CJ, you're no newcomer to racing. Tell us a little about how you got involved with racing.
Well, I'm a third-generation driver. My grandfather raced. My dad raced before me. I was about 14, and my dad decided it was time for him to get out of seat, for me to get in a seat, and we started at Mountain Speedway in the street stock division. No funding, no nothing. We did it out of our own pockets. Raced on takeoff tires, got laps, seat time, and looking back now, it was probably one of the best things I could have ever done. Racing on old tires on a car that didn't work well taught me a lot about car control and all that. Taught me a lot about setup work, what to do to your car to make it go. We came back to Long Island about 2010, entered into the Charger division at Riverhead, ran there about 6 seasons. And this past season, leading into this past season, Eddie and Connie had bought the racetrack and decided to do away with the Charger division. So I was without a ride at that point. We owned a car that we couldn't do much with. Started looking around, thought maybe we could come up with the funds and buy our own modified and try out this crate deal. And heard John was looking for a driver possibly. So I reached out on Facebook. Said, hey John, heard you might be looking for a driver. You already got my number registered, so
That's right, because it was number one at
we
the
were
time.
both number one in
Right,
our
right.
respective divisions. So I said, if you're looking for a driver, this is what I got. I got a crew that comes with me, truck and trailer, home 9. Keep me in mind.
There you go.
At that point, he said, yeah, we went back and forth a little bit. And
A lot of people were asking, and I didn't really want to commit to anybody. But Tommy told me about CJ before I even knew who CJ was. So when we reached out to each other, it was like I knew I was going with CJ, but I couldn't say anything yet.
Right.
And then he brought it up,
he had to make me work for it.
Yeah.
It's
Nothing wrong with that.
no, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
If you earn what you get, it makes you appreciate it a lot more.
You respect it a little more.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So-
And that's coming from a young guy.
Right. And that's why he's with me. That's why he's with me.
Hey, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, what we're going to do, I'm going to do a little comparison because there's been a lot of stuff on the social media about Jimmy Johnson and his 7th championship, and he wasn't a Richard Petty, wasn't a Dale Earnhardt. But you know what? When you look at this comparison, yeah, he is when we come back.
Hey, this is Chris Les Jake, and if Inravio.com spots you at an event wearing this bracelet, they will give you $100.
Village Music Shop of Mastic. 1-800-HEY-DUDE. Your full-service store with personalized attention, school band instrument rentals and sales, music instruction on all instruments for all styles and age groups, for guitars, drums, amplifiers, PA systems, and accessories. It's Village Music Shop. 1495 Montauk Highway in Mastic. Call 1-800-HEY-DUDE or go to villagemusicshop.com.
Welcome back. I always say the conversation on the break should be recorded because we could use it as outtakes and make it a comedy show. We have a good time. It's all fun. So then we have a peanut gallery today, so that even makes it more interesting. So it's all good. But anyway, social media was beating up Jimmy Johnson, saying that, the 7th championship, it's a paper champion and all that kind of nonsense. So I did a little research and, I don't know. First of all, the guy, you got to look at it this way. He's a champion amongst the men and women he raced against at the time. That doesn't make him just a paper champion. That means he went out there for 36 weeks, ran his car, had good finishes, and when they added up the points, and even with the chase, he's the champion. But, looking at I did a little comparison between Richard Petty, Dale Earnhardt Sr., and Jimmy Johnson. And Richard Petty won his first championship at the age of 27. Dale Earnhardt won his at the age of 29, and Jimmy Johnson at the age of 31. Now, understand, Jimmy Johnson got a late start because he was a motorcycle guy. He wasn't racing cars. Well, Richard Petty, he came out of the womb practically racing cars with Lee Petty. And Dale was, he followed his dad's footsteps as well. So they're kind of close in age there. Now, when they got their 7th title, Richard Petty was 42, Dale was 44, and Jimmy was 41. I mean, that's kind of close in age. But here's where the difference, when you look at it. It took Richard Petty 20 years of racing to get his 7th, Dale 16 years, and Jimmy 15 years. Richard Petty ran 1,184 events over that time, Dale 676, and Jimmy had 543. Richard Petty has 200 wins, Dale 76, and Jimmy 80. So now, Jimmy Johnson's still a young guy. He could race another 9, 10 years if he chose to. So I think that he's going to break that record, and not only break it, I think he's going to blow it away. He's been with Hendrick Motorsports, which is a fine organization in the Sprint Cup Series. And when you look at what he does, I mean, when you look at the races, one of the things about races, you got to finish.
Sure.
Right? And he finishes most races. You don't see him in a lot of stupid wrecks. The guy could start 40th and be battling with 20 to go for the win.
End of the race.
And that's big. And you got to look at it too. When Richard Petty was running, they were running 50 to 60 races a year, and Richard Petty had all that STP money, and nobody had it. Everybody was doing it out of the garage stuff. Dale came along in the next era, where sponsorship started becoming a big thing, driving for somebody. Richard Petty did the family deal. Dale drove for somebody most of his career. Jimmy's driving for Hendrick Motorsports. And you don't see in Sports City that loyalty where somebody stays with an owner year after year after year. A lot of people go for the big money. The grass is greener over there. They have better cars, better equipment. But I'll tell you, I got to respect the guy who stays with Hendrick Motorsports. Anybody who would leave Hendrick Motorsports has got to have a screw loose. But
Sure.
when you look at that comparison, Jimmy Johnson is a champion, in my opinion. A lot of people will disagree about that, and I'm sure social media tomorrow is going to beat me up, but that's okay. I'm used to it. I'm used to it. What are you going to do?
Is that what happens when you host these shows?
Huh?
That's what happens when you're a host of a show, huh?
Well, you got to put it out there, and then it's on the internet forever.
Right.
So, you can't say, I didn't say that. And then they go back to, like, show 3. Yes, you did. But anyway. So, you're doing this deal. You're going to wet your feet in a modified tour. What tracks you're going to start out with, you think?
Well, probably our home track at Riverhead, which I consider our home track, but CJ's home track, and I think it's one of his better tracks, is Mountain Speedway. Evergreen, sorry. It's something he grew up on.
Yeah.
So, what do you think? It's your call.
I'll go anywhere the race car's going.
There you go.
My name's on the roof and it's going on the racetrack. It means I got to be there driving it. So, basically whatever John says we're going to go do, we're going to go do, whether it's Thompson or Evergreen or somewhere in Florida.
Right.
It doesn't matter much to me. Evergreen does open before Riverhead opens, so we have the opportunity to get there before Riverhead goes. So that might be a good option. It's a place I'm comfortable at, very comfortable, and I wouldn't have to be learning a racetrack as well as learning a race car at that point. Riverhead would be the same thing. I know Riverhead Raceway, so I don't have to relearn the racetrack. So, really it's up to him. It's up to him and the sponsors and the guys.
Right. Now, you have a nice crew. They've been with you for a while. Who were some of the guys that help you out in the crew, CJ?
There's so many, you just can't even name all of them. But, first and foremost, my dad's there. My dad's been there since day one. I showed interest in racing, and he got me a go-kart. And, I did all the work on my go-kart, but he was always there at the racetrack, and he was my guy there. So he works tirelessly to make sure the car is prepared. We have Pat McKeegan, who's been a longtime guy of ours, helped my dad when my dad raced, so he's still around. Tim Halpin, Steve Halpin, Mike Lemira does all the setup for us now on the modified. Rich Lane, who I believe was on your show
Yes, he was.
a while back there. You know, Brian Quilliam, my girlfriend Cheyenne, is big. She's our note keeper.
She's great with that. Great with that.
Very organized. You know, you can't beat good notes in racing. So, you know, there's just so many people, and you know, I'm sure I'm forgetting a ton of them, but you know, we appreciate each and every one. Bill came on board this year. Heard we were making some noise, a friend of John's, and you know, he actually was helping Ronnie Mullen out at Wall, and decided he wanted to come help us. So make sure the car is nice and shiny every single week. So that takes a little stress off me. I don't have to do that no more. So
You got people for that now.
I got people for that.
People.
Yeah.
You know, I remember even when your dad raced, the cars were always immaculate. No matter what happened Saturday, the following week, it was like, I used to say, how'd they do that? You know?
Yeah,
Always.
he's for a pool guy, he's pretty good at body work. You know, it was always with a hammer and a dolly. If it came down to it, taking the panel off the car with, you know, a couple pieces of wood, beating on it.
Yeah.
I used to I loved that when I was a kid. You know, I didn't care about turning the wrenches. I wanted to beat up the fenders with the hammer. You know, I wanted to straighten them out. So, yeah, it's good. It's good to have a nice, clean, straight race car. Maybe certain guys can't afford to replace panels weekly, but you could always take the extra 5 minutes in the shop and straighten them out for your sponsors.
He is really good at it. I got to tell
Sure.
him. We've damaged some stuff and come back the next week and I'm looking at it and go, wow, did we replace that? Nope. Scott took the hammer out.
You know, it's funny. I was the middle of the pack to the back of the pack guy at best, and I wrecked more often than I finished. So I got real good at body work.
Right.
And to tell you a quick story, Jay Slice, he'll confirm this. I was going to have Brian Cicella drive my blunderbuss car because my daughter wasn't going to race no more. And I bring him to the shop, and there's no body on the car. It's stripped. It's nothing. It's just, it needs a body. Practice is Saturday, and this is the previous Saturday. And Brian goes, I guess we're going to miss both the practices. I says, no, you'll be at next week's practice. It won't be painted, but you'll be at next week's practice. They brought their father over. He helped out. And all of a sudden, then Bob Finan stopped by the shop.
Right.
He goes, oh, you're not going to make practice? We'll be in practice. I just got so good at it because I wrecked so much.
Right. Right.
And
necessary evil.
And then they swore, they kept walking out of the shop shaking their head, we're not going to make it, we're not going to make it. And then not only was it primed, it was painted as well. So we made it happen.
Nice.
And you know what? That was where my talent lied. I mean, if it didn't start, I couldn't figure out what was wrong.
Right.
But because I wrecked so much, I was able
You
to
can make it straight.
make it straight.
It'll look good.
It
Won't
did.
start, but it'll look really good.
And then when my daughter had that blunderbuss, it was an old Impala. You can't get body parts of those things, so I had to make them.
Right.
You know, so we had some fun doing it. He'll tell you, there he is. I did it in 3 hours. Complete. The only thing I didn't make was the roof.
Really?
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, we had fun. Yeah, we had fun. Jay Slice, my crew chief for a number of years, and his brother drove for me. We had a lot of fun, and that's what you build up over the years. You built up these camaraderies and these friendships with people.
Absolutely.
And even if you only seen them at the racetrack, but from April to September, they're your family, your racing family.
When I first came on, well, I actually infiltrated your camp.
Sure, yeah.
I was the lone duck out there, and Tommy said, go see these guys. And I walked in, there was like 15 of them standing in the shop, and I'm like, hi, I'm John Visconti. You know, and I felt like a real outsider. I was telling Scott today, you know, I know I was bringing some things to the table, and CJ and his family were bringing things to the table. And Tommy thought it would be a good marriage. Tommy knew both of us very well. And when I walked into the shop, at first it was a little bit awkward. You know how you meet, it's like being in high school, you know, you don't know which group to go to. Then, you know, now they rag on me all the time. They totally abuse me, absolutely abuse me, and it's fun because I was telling them the other night in the rig the other night, when we were sitting around, nobody really ever abuses me for some odd reason. When I go to like my family, which are these guys now, they really abuse me. Which, I mean, they don't do it in public, they do it behind closed doors.
Yeah.
But even my wife will laugh because it's funny because I told you, nobody really does that to me. So I'm always like Mr. Big Shot running around. Now I get into closed doors, these guys are beating the hell out of
Oh
me.
yeah, you get humbled real quick.
Yeah, real quick.
Yeah, real
quick. And it's fun, I enjoy it. You know?
They don't care in racing.
No, absolutely not.
If we're not busting your chops, we don't care about you.
You know, I say that to people all the time. When I stop breaking your chops and stop teasing you, that's when you need to worry.
Right.
You need to worry. Now, John, you raced yourself. You ran a legend car.
Yeah.
What was the transition from getting out of the car as a driver to I'm going to be a car runner? What went through your head?
It was hard. I honestly got out of the car because it was at Waterford Speedway. I was, which is a very fast track for any car, let alone a Legends car.
Yep.
And you know, I raced since I believe I was racing open go-karts back in 1982. You know, back at the West Hampton Speedway, which is out here on Long Island. And from that point to my last Legends race, I enjoyed it. I had fun, and I was very confident that I could win or be competitive in every event that I went to. I went to Waterford, and I felt I didn't have it. I probably did, but you know, as a driver, we're all drivers. When you're racing, most of the time, you make a move and then you think about it, and that's a good driver. I started to think about moves and then make them, and I realized that wasn't the right way to go racing.
Right.
So I said, before I get myself or somebody else hurt, let me see. I wasn't getting into racing. I was leaving racing at that point. And then the story about the crate mod and getting rid of my Legends car. Do I still feel as though he always kids me because I can't reach the pedals. He's got much longer legs than I do. So he says I mounted the seat perfectly so that you can't get in the car. But truth is, I do miss it because I still feel as though I want to do it, but I know that I couldn't do it as well as he does or as some of the rest of the guys. And I think I'm a better owner. I could be a better owner than I could be a driver. And if I want to continue with the Visconti Motorsports name, with CJ moving another 5, 10, 15 years down the road, then I need to put somebody else in the seat. And I'm glad that he's with me. So it'll continue our little legacy that my dad started back when.
See, like I said, I was never one of those guys that was battling for wins, but to me, racing was like my golf game. That's nice out, let's go racing. I have the car, let's go racing. You know, and I was always able to get good sponsors, and which was key, because they didn't care what I did in the racetrack. They cared what I did Sunday through Friday.
Right.
And as long as they were happy there, the checks kept coming. And they saw a return on that sponsorship dollar. I talk about that all the time. It's not just a take, it's a give-take. You know, and what do you bring to the table? And I have people come to me because, you know, I do some sponsorship stuff, and you know, oh, you're a sponsor, can you get some sponsor? What are you giving them?
Right.
That's the first thing I say. You know, a guy gave me a proposal, and on his proposal, the first thing he put, if you sponsor my car, I could buy beer and food for my crew.
That'll
That
work
was the
out.
first. I says, we can't use that. We can't use that. But you know, IGA, that's not like a Mickey Mouse operation. That's a big national, you know, chain.
Yeah. And I think I told you off air before, it wasn't for the amount of wins back when I started. It was for the way we represented his corporation. I don't go into a meeting with someone telling them, I need your sponsor money so I can go racing. Right. I go in with the attitude, would you like to advertise on our race car? And this is what we can give you. Sure, you're going to give us a monetary, you know, gift, so to speak, but this is what we're going to give you in return. And there have been plenty of nights on a Saturday night, you know, hot in the summertime, June, July, August, where it's 100 degrees or 120 in the race car, and Sunday morning, CJ and his dad are out at the Applebee's in Riverhead, looking like they just get out of the shower and signing autographs for kids. And that's how you either get or keep a sponsor, and that's the whole premise of our organization.
Because sponsors are hard to get, but easy to lose.
Absolutely.
Harder to keep.
Yeah. And you know, with what you plan on doing with the crate mod and going to other racetracks and just going into the tour, of, even if you race 4 or 5 races, that's not cheap.
Absolutely not.
I was involved with the tour as an official for 12 or 14 years, and I don't know how some of those guys did it. You know, week after week, whether we were in New Hampshire or Riverhead or Stafford or Thompson or Bristol or Martinsville, Richmond, they were there. And you wonder, you know, they're taking off from work, and these are working guys. They're not like guys sitting, you know, up in the Hamptons just, you know, watching their boat, you know, float in the water. They're working guys, and you know, that's a dedication. And this sport kind of forces you to, either you're in or you're not.
Right.
And you know, and you're in. You know, you guys
We're in.
You've been in almost your whole life, you know.
Yeah, I've been in since I could walk out to the garage.
Yeah.
You know, where my dad and the guys working on the cars, and I've been in since I could get out there. Just standing over their shoulder, watching, running and getting tools, wrenches, hammers, whatever they needed. You know, it's an addiction.
It is.
Oh, it is.
But it's a good one.
Oh, I say that.
Yeah.
It's a real good one.
You know, I don't go to a lot of races. I do a lot of, any racetracks I go to is for the show now. And I went up to Bethel, and I was just leaning on a car when they started it, and I was like,
I missed that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know.
You know,
That's
that's I
funny.
start the car in my shop. Sit there.
That's funny. When we finally put, we got the car, we put it all together. We were missing the motor. John got the motor. We put it all together. We put it in, and we fired it up. And shortly after we fired it up, John was sitting in the car and firing it up himself.
Come on, give me this. Let me do it.
It's true.
Let me hit the button.
You know, and even and I joke about this, but every once in a while, my friends of mine that have cars, and I'll show up at Riverhead. You want to take it out warm-ups? I might not get out.
Right.
You know? I might tear it up, but it's an addiction. It's like an alcoholic. He's on the 12th step.
Right.
You know, he shouldn't be going to the bar.
When he waves it in front of you, and you're right back in.
Yeah, and that's what racing does to you. But you know what? There's worse things you could be doing, and I can't think of too many better things you could be doing.
Right.
Like I said earlier, the camaraderie, the friendships. I mean, I tell this story all the time about the late Kenny Hyde. You know, him and I hated each other on and off the racetrack, and we beat the heck out of each other one night at the racetrack. We tore up each other's cars in half the field. NASCAR wanted to kick us out for a year. After the appeal, it was like 2 weeks, and the toughest part of that 2 weeks was sitting in the stands with our little kids while our wives were in the pits, whooping it up. But then I had that bad wreck. The first guy that came to my house was Kenny Hyde. And I'll never forget that. I will never, ever forget that. And he wouldn't come in.
Right.
He stood at the door.
Right.
I was in the living room on my couch with my, all casted up, and, I can't even move. I'm on crutches. And he goes, I just want to make sure you're all right. We have our differences, but I want your wife to know, and I want you to know if you guys need anything.
So that's
you need
cool.
a ride, you need to go to, physical therapy, you need to,
Right.
I'm here. I'm like looking at this guy. What is he
Right.
drinking? What is he smoking?
Yeah.
And he was sincere about it. And that's what you do in this
Yep.
this business that we call racing.
Well, back in the day when my dad was racing against like the Artie Tappins and the Paul Series, everyone thought that Paulie and my father, especially because of their on-track antics, were like arch rivals. And it was good for the fans because there was a Paulie side and there was a Cookie side.
Yep.
And they didn't even like each other. The fans didn't even like each other as fans. And little did they know that every Sunday, whether it was a wreck or a win or an argument in the pit area, we were either at the Messeri's house in Ozone Park or they were at our house in Limbrook, shooting the bull with family and spending every Sunday together. People always thought there was going to be a fist fight at the end of the night, but you know what? It's true. A camaraderie like that is
And for those
is
who
awesome.
don't know, his dad is Cookie Visconti, the famed driver out of the Freeport Stadium with the late models, and he drove just about everything there was.
If it had wheels, he drove it.
Yeah. We had your dad, we did a nice interview at the Heims Museum with your dad. And
One that says he's not 70,
he's not
and now he's 73. He isn't.
he's not 70.
73 either.
Now, I remember reading an article just recently in social media that when you were racing go-karts, you had a bad wreck.
Oh yeah, that was a bad one.
And that made the paper.
Yeah, that was George Usher, who I don't know. You may know who he was from way back in the. This was July 16th of '88 is when the accident happened, and George Usher, who knew my dad, called me up, and it was a pretty bad wreck. It was at Oakland Valley Speedway, and I was racing a flat cart. I had flipped, and part of the steering column snapped and went through the back of my calf and out the front, and then I proceeded to flip through the infield. Long story short, I said that again. I gotta stop saying that. I was laid up for about 6 months, and it was a pretty bad wreck. And like you said, people that even knew you for a minute called to see how you were. And,
Yep.
it was pretty cool. But my dad was there that whole time, and he's like, man, maybe we shouldn't run go-karts anymore. Back then there were no side pods. The bumpers did not extend past the rear wheels.
That's right.
So maybe some innovative safety features came from that wreck, but it was a pretty bad wreck.
Yeah.
Artie Peterson was the first guy to come over to me because he was racing there also, and he came over to me, and the back of my leg was pretty well cut open, and they snipped my driver's suit.
Oh my God.
And then it was just like, and Artie passed out. So I was like, you can wake up now, Artie. He's like,
Yeah.
take me to the hospital and John to the hospital.
Yeah.
What a way to
gonna-
thank a guy.
Yeah.
Just announce it to the world.
Sorry, Artie.
When we come back, we're going to talk about the Turkey Derby that was at Wall, where CJ happened to be a competitor there. When we come back.
Hi, my name is Aaron from Real Big Fish.
And I'm Ed from Real Big Fish.
And you're watching the Inravio TV network.
Hey, I'm Raul Panther.
And I'm Commander B. Hawkins.
And I'm Mark Well. We're some of the proto men. If we see you without this bracelet, we're gonna punch in the. But if you have this bracelet from Inravio.com, you can win $100.
Put one of these on, or else.
Village Music Shop of Mastic. 1-800-HEY-DUDE. Your full-service store with personalized attention, school band instrument rentals and sales, music instruction on all instruments for all styles and age groups, for guitars, drums, amplifiers, PA systems, and accessories. It's Village Music Shop. 1495 Montauk Highway in Mastic. Call 1-800-HEY-DUDE or go to villagemusicshop.com.
Welcome back. This past weekend, Thanksgiving weekend, is the annual Turkey Derby at the Wall Stadium Speedway in Wall, New Jersey. And Matty Hirschman won both the Tour Type Modified race and the Wall Modified feature in at the Turkey Derby, which is Turkey Derby, as I said, number 43. Matty pocketed $9,000 for those two wins at the New Jersey High Banked Oval. Jimmy Blewett won the Dirt Modified feature. And Joe Ryan Osborne was the winner in the 30-lap legend race on Saturday, and Mike Alero won the 40-lapper on Sunday. Matt Roselli won the TQ Midget 30-lapper as well. And C.J. Lehman took to the track at...
Didn't win.
Well, how do you make out? How'd you make out there, C.J.?
We finished 5th, which was a small win for us, actually. We went out on stickers for time trials, and we found out afterwards that that really isn't the ticket at that place. So we timed 15th, which was in the show. So we were happy with that. You know, we made the race, our first time there with the modified and all that. You know, that was a big step for us. Struggled a little bit with a tight race car early on. Was just trying to make laps, and I think we wound up getting up to 10th or so. And got spun out around lap 10. Went all the way to the back and drove back through to 5th. Missed a few good wrecks. No wrecks are good, but you know, big ones. Kept the nose clean and came away with a 5th. So we were pretty happy with that. A little bit underpowered compared to those guys. They run the crate motors as well, but they're allowed to open their motors up and do small things to them. But in a spec division, 15, 20 horsepower is an eternity. It's
Especially on a track like that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a racetrack where you're on the throttle about 3/4 of the way around the track. You're only off it real quick each corner. So we're happy. We enjoyed ourselves. We had fun. That's the biggest part about this whole racing deal is you're having fun. We're happy. We're proud.
CJ, when you went down that ramp, the first time onto the racetrack, and you're going out there, you're scuffing your tires back, and you see that big bank and one. What went through your head?
I can't wait to come down the straightaway full speed.
There you go.
I can't wait to throw it in. I was there once with a street stock. I ran Joe Paprocki's car there a few years back. So I wasn't a stranger to the place, but I was a stranger to being there with open wheels. The wall, as you know, Wall Stadium down the straightaway is a little bit wavy. So I was a little nervous as far as that, finding my marks, but when you're a race car driver, if you're afraid of the track you're rolling out onto, you shouldn't be in the car.
That's right. That's right.
We were excited.
Yeah, I had the opportunity. I drove a TQ there a couple of times on the big track, and I never even saw the racetrack till that day in my whole life because I was a UPS guy. We were the Friday after Thanksgiving. We're working, and when I finally hit the throttle and went into 1, came out of 2, and now I'm at full speed going into 3. My stomach went into my throat and then dropped down.
Yeah,
it's like
it'll do that.
Man, I said I'm gonna do this like 20 more times.
You talk to people like I'm pretty close with the Fortons, and Amber and Little John were going there for the first time to run Derby this past weekend. Leading up to it, we're talking back and forth about the place, and I had been there previously before. Not in a modified, mind you, but I'd been there. And, asking questions, what's the track like? And the best way I could describe it was, it's like driving a race car on a roller coaster.
Yes.
You drive downhill, into the corner, you hit the bottom, and you come back uphill off the corner. So it's a great place.
And go to they put on a nice show there, and it's a shame that they can't lock into something that they have a year-to-year lease. It's hard to do any of the improvements. I just saw the guardrail, they went right through it.
Right.
That's scary.
Oh,
That's scary.
2 times.
Yeah.
Stephen Reed actually broke it in the last round of practice
The week before.
and then in our race, Jeff Lane or Eric Lane,
The 24.
the 24 car, broke it off of turn 2
yeah, I
there.
saw that. Wow. We had a modified tour race. In fact, it was the last modified tour race that we had. I was the race director. And one of my jobs is to walk with the technical guy, and we'd walk the track. And we walked down the ramp, we turned 4, down the straightaway, and you see that waviness where a board, because it was a board.
Right,
The board that's sticking out, you get close, it could rip your Nerf bars off.
right.
Or an open wheel car, it'll rip the wheels off.
Scary.
And then we get into one, and we kind of stopped and we were talking about the boards, and I leaned on the guardrail and it moved. The race was almost canceled because of that.
Safer barrier. A little give with the wall.
And they did what they had to do, and to fix
Right.
it, we had another day because the race was the next day. But it's never been changed because there's nobody wants to commit to them 5-10 years.
Right.
To put, who's going to put a boatload of money into a place that they're not going to have.
Yeah, but that's a safety feature. That's something that
Exactly.
I don't know if it's about money at that point. To be honest with you,
It shouldn't be.
It should be about safety.
Right.
And I don't care what you have to put into it. That I'm not going to get on this whole rant about safety, but
Right.
it could definitely hurt or worse somebody with the way those
yeah.
those guardrails are.
Yeah, I mean, that's 50-year-old technology that they had there. And, there's other things now. If you're going to have that, back it up with earth. Something.
And I love the track. It's
Right.
probably, I don't know how you feel as a driver. It's probably one of my favorite driving tracks as a driver. It's just fun. It's fast and it's like a baby Bristol.
I
Yes.
think that as a driver, I appreciate every racetrack I've been on in its own way. Wall has its own character to it. The wall, the banking, you go down the straightaway, there's kind of grooves in the asphalt, the car moves around a little bit. It's a cool place. The guardrail may be a little bit unsafe, but I, for one, would rather hit that than concrete at that place.
There's a little give.
You're going that fast there. In the event that we had a replay of what we did at Riverhead this year with a stuck throttle, concrete there would be
That'd be
a
hard.
lot more unforgiving than the guardrail would. But I do think that there is some other way
Absolutely.
that they could attack that problem.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Now, looking forward, past next year, past the year after, what are your plans, CJ? What are you looking to do?
Ride the wave as far as I can. And that's not just with Visconti Motorsports. That's been my dream since I knew what racing was. Maybe I'm not good enough to go to the top, but I certainly want to take it as far as I can.
Absolutely.
If running a tour type modified Riverhead as far as I can ever get, I'm happy with that because I gave it my best shot. So I just want to be in a race car driving, and if I can take it somewhere, so be it.
And that's, you look back over the years at the top levels, the Xfinity Series, the Camping World Truck Series, and even the Sprint Cup Series. Well, we'll call it the Cup
Whatever it is
Series
now.
for now. When you look at years ago, the hardworking guy, the Bobby Allisons, the Donnie Allisons, the Cale Yarboroughs, hardworking guys. They built their own stuff. They raced their own stuff, and that's how they fed their family. Now it's a little bit different because it's not the guy who's the best. It's the guy who comes with the biggest package, dollars and cents. And you look at this, and then with this NASCAR development thing, with like Daniel Suarez, the Xfinity Championship, he came right out of that program. And at his acceptance speech, he talked about, in his broken English, he said, well, I first came to the United States to go race, and I couldn't speak English. And my first place they took me to was some track upstate New York. He couldn't even say Buffalo. And he said it kind of funny. And he said, and my spotter, he spoke English and a little Spanish, and we kind of had our own language.
Right.
And you look at, what's next now? Is it, right now we have all these other people, non-Americans, I'll say, so if I don't offend anybody. Now, what's going to happen? They're going to have a program to get Americans back in the sport?
Into the sport.
Like women, Danica
tough.
Patrick, she's the one really in the
Right.
top 3. You know,
Who was my second choice, by the way?
was she?
Danica,
It
yeah.
was either her or him or Danica.
She would have tore up a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
John.
She's cute, though. She's cuter than he is.
I had the opportunity to be responsible for her team at Dover one year, and she was nasty. She yelled at me.
You know, I was going to say that. She's a little cranky at times.
You know,
So is he.
and you know what happens when the weekend starts? You're assigned a car. So I'm
I'm
assigned.
cranky
I know
sometimes.
you are.
I'm assigned her. It's just a pick. And I'm like,
Right.
I'm not experienced enough to. Oh, okay, whatever. And you have to walk with it down pit road for time trial. You got to walk with it, make sure I don't do anything. And then as she does her laps, you got to walk to the end of pit road to
Someone
park them.
comes in.
So she comes in, and I bring her over because we had to back them in at an angle. And I'm doing this. And when it's time to stop, I go like that. And bam, she hits the wall. She backs into it. She gets out. She goes up one side and down the other. What the heck's wrong here? And Joker Myers was her guy then. He was helping her. And he's trying to tell her to be quiet. And I said, Danica, what does this mean? It means I'm going to punch you in the face. No, that means stop.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm glad I picked you.
Oh, man, it's
Right.
going to be a long
It's
weekend.
gonna be a weekend.
But no, we have some fun. And,
Yeah, us race car drivers, we can get real cranky
and
sometimes.
Kevin Basic, long on Need for Speed, he's saying his brother's Troy hit the wall, and the whole front end was wiped out. You know, and modifieds are a little temperamental. They're not full fender cars. You've driven full fender cars.
Sure.
You can lean on people in a full fender car. You can,
Yeah.
you can, you know,
Yeah,
do
a
a lot
little,
of stuff.
little nimble.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, so we have our Charger car that we raced at Evergreen this year, and we also went up to Bethel with it at the end of the year. And John didn't pay a whole lot of attention to me racing my Charger over the years because he didn't know me, you know.
Right.
You're just
you
another guy.
Yeah, he was just there watching the races. So, not that I'm a rough guy in my mind. You know, I don't think I'm one of those guys that go out there and just smash people out of my way. But after watching me drive the modified for a period of time and then finally catching a race in my
In his
Charger,
Charger, I was like, wow.
he's like, man, you drive that thing like an animal compared to the
Really?
modified. But you can.
Right.
You can lean on people and you can use the car a little more and move guys out of the way if they're running it down. With a modified, if you're not quite in there and they start running it down, you have two options: tear the right front off or back out.
Right.
You know, sometimes you can't back out quick enough. You tear the right front off anyway. But you know, like you said, with those fender cars, you got a bumper around those tires. You got Nerf bars on the side.
Yep.
You can use them up a little bit.
And I've watched you progress through the ranks and over the years, and I said that to somebody a couple of years back. I said, "This kid's tough. He don't take no nothing. Man,
There's
you're not
no
going to
reason
push
to.
him out of the way. You're not pushing him out of the way.
Yeah, there's no reason to.
You got to earn that spot."
Exactly. And that's why it's racing.
Exactly. There's nothing wrong with that. A lot of people think that's not good. That's what racing's all about.
Right.
You know.
You've become very disciplined. He's taken some of the aggression and the aggressive moves that he made, and he's made them a lot smoother. But he's still aggressive,
Right.
which is, you know, I would have to say from the year and change that I've known him, he's grown into a better aggressive driver, kind of more calculated,
Right.
and he's fantastic with. I mean, I was blown away. I went to Bethel to watch him run the Bethel race, and he just whooped him. You know, and he was really, really good. The car was phenomenal. He was just on point, and you could tell that he was in his own element, being in his little cotton candy express. You know, and just sat in the car, and he just fit real well, and it was molded around him, and he just went out there and he whooped them really good.
Yeah.
He lapped everybody, including the second place car.
Yes.
Right, correct. And so that was impressive to me. And I think in the beginning, when he got into, we'll call it my modified, he was like very, you know, apprehensive. He didn't want to scratch it, which I appreciated the respect level that he gave me. And I was like, dude, let's just go out there and run the car. Just we'll worry about what happens afterwards. Go out and win some races, you know. And he started little by little getting more comfortable in the car. And I have to tell you, I know it's aside from that one wreck, Wall Speedway this weekend, I was really impressed because he was running against guys that have been doing that for a long, long time. It was his first time in a modified, qualified respectfully. We did make a mistake on our setup as far as the sticker tires, but again, we're still in a learning curve.
Right. Yep.
All of us are.
Yeah, we had no idea.
We had no clue. We just figured stickers, time trials.
So you do it
let's
rivet,
go for it.
so
Let's do
Yeah.
it.
So we got to do it all.
You know,
Not the case.
You know, but it didn't hurt. It didn't hurt that we started where we started, and it showed me from the spotter stand, you know, from the grandstands rather, sitting there watching them, you know what? He really is good. He's not just, you know, he did a really, really good job, and the whole team gels together.
Yeah.
And it was actually a fun weekend. We loaded it in the trailer. All 4 wheels are on it.
Absolutely.
And
Like you said, that was like a win.
it was a win,
It
especially,
was.
especially being underpowered, which we brought sort of a knife to a gunfight, and he did a really, really outstanding job with the car.
And I always said over the years, and I've been doing this stuff for over 45 years, if you could race at Riverhead, you could race anywhere.
So I've been told.
Yeah.
They say if you can win at Riverhead, you can win anywhere.
Oh, without a doubt.
I haven't won at Wall yet, so I'm not a believer.
Okay.
Tracy
Look at it.
says, heck, he left me too.
And you look at the tour, the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour now, as it was 10 years ago. And it was only maybe Tom Bolden, Sr., the late Tom Bolden. He was one of the Long Islanders. They didn't like him. J.R. Bertuccio tried for a little while.
Right.
They didn't like him. So Long Islanders were kind of shunned away. Now you look at the regulars on the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour, more than a third came out of Riverhead.
Up here, yeah.
And I think that's only going to grow, even with this new schedule I think I'm going to announce in the next few
Sure.
weeks, going south. But you look at the competitiveness on the tour. I mean, they don't have the full fields that they used to have. But on any given day, the top 20 could win a race in that series.
Right.
The top 20. I mean, there's a handful, they're not going to, they're out there. And, Melissa Fifield is one of them. She'll never win a race, in my opinion. And she hasn't gotten better. Wade Cole he's been racing for almost 40 years. To him, it's his golf game now.
Right.
Guys like the Gary McDonald, they're just out there to have a good time,
Right.
But they're there, they're supporting it, and they're making it happen. And, when it comes to a newcomer like yourselves,
Right.
coming into that series, you're going to find that those guys will help you. And I'm going to share
We
a little
hope so.
story. Mike Andrews shows up at Thompson for the World Series. He's out to lunch. He's out to lunch in practice. Phil Moran, who was Todd Zagidy's crew chief on the 2 with Mike Smergio, championship team. I went over to Phil. I said, Phil, I need a favor. He said, what do you need? I said, I'm asking this as a friend, not as a NASCAR official.
Right.
He goes, whatever you need, whatever you need. Can you go over to the Andrews team and whisper in their ear a little bit? And they won't take offense. And he goes, all right, let me finish here. I'll go over there. He was over there for about an hour. Mike goes out, wins the pole.
Wow.
Really?
Takes the pole.
Wow.
Now everybody was up in arms. How could a guy from Riverhead take the pole at Thompson? And Mike did the right thing. That was his first time there. There was a points battle. He dropped to
he
the
did?
back. He dropped to the back. But he had his pole award.
Yeah, the sticker, yeah.
You can never take that away. And that showed me that day that's how that series is.
Yeah.
Right.
And a new guy comes and shows up.
Well, what did Tommy tell us? He said, the best thing for us to do, Bolden, that is, he goes, don't run before you can walk.
Right.
Take baby steps. The opportunity for us to get the Cypher equipment was an excellent opportunity to have excellent equipment. We're not going to utilize, we're not thinking that just because we own the equipment, we're going to jump into the tour. We're going to run 4, 5, 6 races, depending. We haven't really discussed it yet, but we're not going full tour. We're going full crate mod next year. But we are going to learn. We're going to try to beat the curve a little bit, and by the time 18th season rolls around, he'll be a little bit more accustomed to the big car, the big powered car, and then we'll take that move. But we're going to take baby steps. None of us are going anywhere. We're hoping to stay together for a long time. And
I got a
building.
15-year plan. So.
yeah, we're on a
There you
15-year
go.
plan. Yeah,
All right, it's
Yeah.
a plan.
it is a plan.
I always say if you're failing to plan, it's a plan to fail. So
Absolutely.
you got a plan.
There you go.
Anyway, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to almost have to wrap up. But we come back.
Hi there, this is Buddy from Less Than Jake, and you are listening to Inravio TV. You're probably watching it too.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, Inravio can get your message out there. And we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is Inravio.com.
Hey, before we wrap up, the Touring Series announced their most popular driver awards, and the K&N Pro Series East was Austin Theriault out of Maine. The K&N Pro Series West was Salvador Iovino from California. Trey Hudson's was the Southern Modified Tour most popular driver out of North Carolina, and the Wheeler Modified Tour, Melissa Fifield out of New Hampshire, got her third most popular driver award in a row. We're going to talk a little bit more about that next week when we come back live, because there seems to be a bit of controversy for that, and we're going to put that right to bed. Anyway, guys, I'll tell you, it looks like you have a solid plan in place.
We do.
Going into 2017 and beyond. Now, I know you can't do this yourself. Who are some of the people that make it happen at Visconti Motorsports?
Well, from the beginning, when I was running my other divisions in the Legends, we had Applebee's, which was very instrumental in helping us be out in the masses, so to speak. Mm-hmm. Kids could come down and see the cars not only at the racetrack, because it's hard for them to get into the pit area sometimes, right, but they see that they're parking lots and they enjoy it. They take pictures and whatnot. Of course, our title sponsor is IGA, which is a Mr. Reichert, who owns the IGA food markets out here on Long Island. And of course, from the very beginning, even with CJ, we had Tommy Baldwin Racing. And that's how CJ and I got together. Tommy helped him, Tommy helped me. When we came together, Tommy said it's a great marriage. And CJ also brought some of his Charger sponsors to the Modified, to the Crate Mod. And all of our sponsors, including the ones that CJ brought in, are staying with us through at least the 2017 season, and I could let CJ tell you who those guys are.
Well, we tried to bring some of our sponsors from the Chargers, and we brought along Shore Mechanical. We brought along Bottle Hampton.
Right.
TJ Halpins, which my uncle Steve Halpin was there when I was born. He'll, as long as I don't mess it up, I'm sure he'll be there till I'm done racing. So we had Handy Pantry that we brought along. They keep us hydrated every week. Pizza Time keeps us fed every week. We had one come on actually in the middle of the season, Crate Insider, right, helping us with our crate motors and you know, figuring those things out. Long Island Truck Parts is another big one of ours. They help us out a lot, and you know, we're greatly appreciative of that.
They do our tires for us every week. Wow. You never have to worry about tires, which is great. Right.
We also have a guy by the name of Jeff McGrath, Performance Synthetics. Jeff's a guy that I met in Pennsylvania. He's a former Long Islander, and you know, we were actually teammates when I raced in Pennsylvania. He's been with me since then, and he provides us with AMSOIL products, gets all our gear lubes and
which is familiar to you.
Yes, that was another nice little segue.
Nice. Right, Cookie's actually a little mad that there's not an AMSOIL sticker on the car, but there's a Performance Synthetics sticker on the car. So
good.
That'll do.
Jeff did give Cook a hat though.
He did. He's very happy.
My father wears the hat every day. He wears his AMSOIL hat. Yeah, pretty much.
Probably.
I don't know. I thought we had a picture of your car because people should see this thing. I think we had a graphic of it. The car is awesome looking. It looks fast sitting there.
There you go.
That's your win there.
That's the ugly driver.
You know.
Yeah, it's a nice looking machine.
It is.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I'll tell you what, like I said earlier, you know, when your dad raced, his cars were immaculate.
Yeah. Well, that's a big thing.
Gorgeous.
You know, that's a big Visconti thing. They laugh at me sometimes.
Oh yeah, you guys too. You know.
Yeah, it's a big thing. We need to keep it clean.
I went to Freeport, not a lot, but when your dad was running in the late models, that car, it was like a cup car.
Yeah, right.
I mean, every week.
Everything had to be perfect.
Perfect.
He would not leave the garage if the garage wasn't swept, let alone the car being clean. The garage, the tools had to be put back.
Wow. That's a beautiful
That's my dad.
Oh, well. I want to thank you guys. I know you
Oh,
made
thank
the
you.
trek all the way out from Brooklyn. CJ, I know you're a busy guy, got a lot going on. So I want to thank you guys for
I
taking
appreciate
the
it.
time
Thank
to
you.
be on the show
Thank you for
tonight.
having us.
Thank you for having us.
No,
It's
my
been
pleasure.
great.
And again, I hope everybody had a nice Thanksgiving. The holiday season is upon us. And I want everybody to be safe in your endeavors this week until next week. Tell somebody you love them, give them a hug. God bless you all, and we'll see you next week.